Hello and welcome. My name is Matthias Spitzmuller and I'm here to talk to you about graduate studies in organizational behavior at the Smith School of Business here at Queen's University. My own history at Queen's started quite a while ago. I was an exchange student at Queen's University in 2002 and really fell in love with the university, the student community, the town. And for me, it's ever since then been a dream to come back to this place. And after my graduate studies and after working at a different university for a few years, when this job opened up, I knew that, well, it would be wonderful to come back to Queen's. And I'm here to talk to you today about why is it that I believe graduate studies at Queen's are a great investment into your future, and also to introduce the field of organizational behavior and graduate studies in organizational behavior a little bit. Sometimes my students are asking me, why is it that you have pursued a PhD and an academic career? And I think I can describe this best with three simple stories. The first story is I come from a small town in the southwest of Germany called Freiburg. And Freiburg is one of the oldest universities in the German-speaking area, founded about 600 years ago. And I remember how as a child, as a teenager, I was oftentimes walking around the university buildings, knowing that those buildings have been standing there for 600 years and that there have been generations and generations of scholars who have contributed to a cumulative body of knowledge and ultimately also to the societies that we're living in today. And that's something that has always left a deep impression on me. I also remember as an undergraduate student in my organizational behavior course, I always got this warm, fuzzy feeling in my stomach whenever I was reading something about human behavior in an organizational context that enabled me to understand just a little bit better what it is that motivates people, how they make decisions. It was just this intrinsic interest in understanding human behavior, human thinking, decision-making in an organizational context. And up to this point, like even many years after taking this organizational behavior course, I still get this warm and fuzzy feeling when I'm reading articles that tell me something that I haven't known yet about human behavior in an organizational context. Third story, as a high school student, I've had a teacher that really transformed my life, I think, in many ways. That was my history teacher in the last 2 years of high school and created that tremendous identification with the subject, but also this tremendous desire to learn and ultimately also be the best person that I could be. And that experience was not only an experience that transformed me, but it also gave me the wish to become a teacher at some point and to also pass this on to others. And so in summary, I think I've been interested in an academic career because it allows me to contribute to the development of knowledge in an area that I'm very passionate about, and at the same time teach and be surrounded by wonderful and talented students. So what is organizational behavior, the field that I'm also introducing you today? So organizational behavior is a field of study that seeks to understand, explain, predict, and change human behavior that occurs in an organizational context. Organizational behavior can be studied at 4 levels in the organization. There's the individual level, there's the dyadic level, the group level, and then the macro level, the organizational level. On the individual level, we study things such as the experience of stress or job satisfaction, how individuals make decisions in an organizational context, how individuals negotiate, how they experience conflict. On the dyadic level, we study interpersonal processes between 2 people, oftentimes between leaders and their respective followers. We try to understand why is it that sometimes they experience a positive relationship with each other and sometimes they experience conflict or unproductive relationships. On the group level, we're trying to understand the interpersonal dynamics that teams experience that either render them functional or dysfunctional in their work. Here we study things such as diversity in groups, and we try to understand why some groups experience conflict with each other, whereas others are able to overcome their differences and leverage their diverse viewpoints and ultimately be very productive. And then finally, on the organizational level, we're trying to understand how organizational cultures develop, how they can change over time, how organizational structures contribute to the effective functioning of the organization. Organizational behavior is a field of study that is quite diverse and that has been influenced by many different academic disciplines, including economics, psychology, anthropology, political studies, just to name a few. As a result, the methodological approaches which we use in organizational behavior are also quite diverse, and they range from advanced statistical methods and quantitative approaches to studying human behavior to qualitative approaches in which we're interviewing people, in which we're conducting case studies, and through such observations also try to contribute to a cumulative body of knowledge in our field. The organizational behavior area group at the Smith School is a relatively small group with 7 research active faculty, but also an area group which encompasses a wide range of research interests. And I think that's also wonderful for students in our program, that they get exposed to very different faculty, very different ways of thinking, and also very different research topics that they're ultimately focusing on. And I'd like to introduce some of those research topics to you. I'd like to start with Julian Barling, who is a very senior and very renowned researcher in our area group. He's conducting research on leadership and on well-being at the workplace. Very recently published a book on the science of leadership, and I think can be regarded as one of the world's foremost authorities in the leadership space. Also a wonderful mentor to students with a great network of former students at Canadian universities that have all, I think, appreciated his mentorship. Next person I'd like to talk about is Jenna Raver, a colleague who sits just next to my office on the west wing of the building. She's conducting research on counterproductive work behaviors. So why is it that employees sometimes deviate from what they're expected to do? She's also conducting research on teams and on group norms to engage in positive workplace behavior, such as citizenship behavior. So going above and beyond the formal call of duty. Christopher Miners is a colleague that is also close to my office, who also happens to be a very passionate soccer player and who organizes our student faculty soccer games every year. And he is conducting research on emotional intelligence and the role of emotions at the workplace. Susan Broad, another faculty member in the organizational behavior area group, is conducting research on trust and negotiations. Finally, on the micro and meso side, myself, I'm interested in group processes. Very recently, I've published an article that is looking at group dynamics that can help us understand how terrorist teams radicalize and take decisions, and ultimately also how some of those insights, like the structural dynamics that we find in terrorist teams, can also enable us to understand team processes in an organizational context a little bit better. Tina Daysin is a very senior and renowned scholar on the macro side of organizational behavior, and she's studying social entrepreneurship, social innovations, and traditions. She's conducting a lot of her research currently on Fogo Island in the Maritimes, studying how traditions are being kept alive and passed on from generation to generation. Why should you apply to our PhD program? I believe that you will receive a strong academic foundation to your career through coursework and very close collaborations with our faculty that will ultimately also put you in a position to publish your work and be considered for the faculty appointments elsewhere after graduation. Oftentimes we receive the question, who should apply and what are we looking for in candidates? And I'm oftentimes a bit hesitant to answer that question. The reason is sometimes applicants feel that if they don't meet all of these criteria, then they should definitely not apply. And so I'm not trying to discourage you. What I'm trying to tell you is what is the background that most of our students usually have, keeping in mind that students usually don't meet all of these requirements at the highest level. So first, students usually do relatively well in their prior coursework. They enjoy studying. They enjoy being involved in academic pursuits. Second, they've usually got relatively good test scores on the GMAT or the GRE. Third, most of our students have had prior research experience, meaning that they have contributed to research projects in various capacities, maybe in data collection, or maybe they have written an honors thesis on a topic related to our field. Overall, what we're looking for is a candidate who also shows intellectual curiosity. So this idea that you are trying to learn something about human behavior that hasn't been examined before, this fascination with organizational behavior, ultimately this intrinsic motivation to become involved in this field. We're also looking for people who have got a growth mindset, meaning students who are not discouraged by setbacks in their studies, because pursuing a PhD is a long-term effort that also encompasses a huge learning curve. But part of this learning curve also means dealing with feedback that you're receiving in courses. That also means dealing with rejections for papers that you're going to be writing. And the mindset that you see this as an opportunity to learn as opposed to viewing this as discouraging is important. As I'd mentioned, students who feel like they are not meeting all of these criteria, we're still encouraging you to apply. There's not this one perfect candidate that has got perfect test scores, prior conference presentations or publications, and straight A's coming out of their prior studies. How will the program look for you? In the first 2 years, you're going to take graduate level seminars. Those are seminars that involve very few students, so between 3 and 8 students usually, in which you're going to be dealing with different topics in organizational behavior and foundations of research in organizational behavior. One seminar on micro perspectives, one on meso perspectives, one on macro perspectives in organizational behavior. In addition to that, you're also going to receive a strong methodological foundation for your coursework, which we believe is very important to set you up for a successful academic career. What do our graduate students do after they leave Queen's University? The MSc students, most of them continue to pursue graduate studies, a PhD either at Queen's or elsewhere, most of them here at Queen's. And our PhD students, they usually take academic appointments, tenure track positions at Canadian universities or internationally. Our graduate students are, I think, an important asset to our school, and we strongly encourage you to also get in touch by email with all of the faculty that you might be interested in working with. It would be wonderful to hear from you, and we do hope to see you on campus at some point in the future. One additional colleague that I would like to introduce to you is Laura Rees. Laura just joined us very recently, and she studies decision-making, the impact of emotions on cognition and voice behaviors in organizations. Voice behaviors, those are behaviors that challenge the status quo to impact change in an organizational context.
Hi, my name is Anika Kluche. I am a 4th year PhD student here at Smith School of Business studying in organizational behavior. Now, what originally attracted me to this program was the accomplished faculty. So I get to work with Dr. Julian Barling, and we study topics such as leadership and relationships in the workplace. What has really fascinated me about this program is the amount of development I actually experienced. So I came into this program as a PhD student. So I had a master's, but I actually really developed as a researcher when I came here. The program offers you a breadth of courses, so you actually get to study in all areas of organizational behavior, and then you eventually stumble upon the topic you really want to research. That is absolutely one of the biggest advantages of being here. You get to study what actually interests you. So for example, I get to study topics such as romantic relationships and how they influence leadership behaviors. My supervisor gave me the opportunity to actually ask a question that I wanted to answer. And that's what this program ultimately offers. In addition to having great supervisor relationship, you develop relationships with all of the faculty members at this school. And that's because you have an opportunity to study with each and every one of them. You also have an opportunity to develop relationships with the other graduate students here. We have a really close cohort. We spend time with each other in classes, but also beyond classes. We join sports teams together as we go out, and it's a great opportunity to develop friendships. I personally have developed some of my best friendships here at Queen's. Finally, I think the strength of this program is the fact that you actually learn skills and you develop tools that you can take beyond the program. So whether you decide to just stay for an MSc or continue on into the PhD program, you have the ability to kind of navigate your own skills and provide yourself with every opportunity you can to either become an academic or whatever you choose to do. I think that coming to Queen's was really the best decision I ever made for myself. I developed the most as a researcher, and I continue to develop every day. This program is hard work, but your input is equal to, if not greater, to the output you receive. So you will be challenged in many ways, you will read a lot of material, but ultimately you'll get so much out of this program that makes all of it worth it.
Premiumbeat.com